Okay, so I mentioned before the imperative affirmative. What is that? The imperative is obviously when you give an order, a command, stand up, sit down, turn around. So it's when we've got an order, and the affirmative is the positive one. Do this, do that, do this, not the negative, which is don't do this, don't do that. So in the imperative affirmative, the pronouns come after the verb. They don't come before, they come after. So it's an exception. But the rule is now simplified. You have the verb, direct object, indirect object, I and en. It's pretty simple. So here are some examples. Donnez-le lui. Give it to him. Donner, we've got the verb, le, the direct object, lui, indirect object, and we're done. And I should have put a little exclamation mark there because we're talking about the imperative. Envoyez-lui un. Send him some. Lui, of course, the indirect object must come before en. Mettez-les-y. Put them there. We have the verb, then we have a direct object, and then we have I. Okay. Note, when they come after the verb, they the me becomes moi and the te becomes toi. For example, they turn into the disjunctive pronouns. Envoyez-le-moi. Send it to me. We can't have me after a verb. Me is fine before the verb. If it comes after the verb, it must change into moi. Okay, so what about the negative when we say don't? This is pretty easy. All that happens is they go back to normal. They follow the rules that we spoke about earlier, which is that they come before the verb and they go in the order according to that flag. Okay, for example, ne me l'envoyez pas, and the exclamation mark, don't send it to me. So as long as you've got those rules down in your head that follow, they must come before the verb and they come in that order, except when we're giving an order, the imperative in the affirmative, and then they come after the verb. Direct, indirect, I, en. There we go. So I mentioned before about being aware of what is the relevant verb. Let's talk about what happens when you have an infinitive. When a pronoun is a direct or indirect object of the infinitive, it always precedes the infinitive. Okay, what that means is you must put your pronoun before the correct verb. For example, have a look at this. I talked about the futur proche before. Je vais envoyer cette lettre. Well, you might think, okay, cette lettre is going to be replaced by la. I'll put it before the verb. Don't put it before vais. That's not the relevant verb. What verb is cette lettre attached to? What's happening to the letter? Is it going? No, it's being sent. So envoyer is the relevant verb. So lettre must come before envoyer. That's the verb it's attached to. So it must come before that verb. Okay, so it's je vais l'envoyer. In the same way, nous pouvons chanter la chanson. We can sing the song. What verb is the song attached to? Can? We can the song? No, that's not right. Singing. The verb to sing is the relevant verb. So la chanson, the pronoun, we're going to replace it by la, it. It must come before chanter, before the relevant verb. Nous pouvons la chanter. Again, this is a little trickier because we have a negative as well as the infinitive. And of course, you remember that when you have a negative, a ne and a pas, normally a negative sandwiches the verb, doesn't it? The ne and the pas are like the pieces of bread and the verb is the meat in the middle of the sandwich. Well, when we have ne and pas with an infinitive, not a conjugated verb, they both come before. They come before the infinitive, so that's a bit different. So if we have here, vous m'avez dit de ne pas faire mes devoirs. You told me not to do my homework. De, ne pas, coming before the infinitive, ne pas faire mes devoirs. All right, so we know we're going to replace mes devoirs with les, them. Where are we going to put them? What are they attached to? The telling? No, they're attached to the doing. Faire is the relevant verb, so they must come before faire. So that's very simple. We leave everything the same. Vous m'avez dit de ne pas les faire. So that is object pronouns position. Merci et à la prochaine fois.